We're going to get started. I'll call the meeting to order and start by looking at the agenda. Joe, can you put that up?
You would think so after all this time. All right.
Okay. And so you all have your glasses on. You can see the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda today from committee members? Otherwise, the agenda will be approved with no vote. Seeing none, I'm going to pull up my little thing so I can see if there's any hands raised. I don't see any hands raised, so the agenda is approved. So,
So
go ahead. Am I out of order,
I gotta
Brian?
jump to another meeting, but I can call you when I get off.
I think
Brian's
Brian
doing some side trading.
Okay, we will mute him. All right.
muted.
He's muted. Thank you. Okay. I thought he was going to tell me I was out of order. So, okay.
He was out of order.
The agenda is approved. I see no one with their hand up. So we will move to...
So can everybody mute themselves if they're not speaking?
All right. The agenda is approved, so we will move to approval of the minutes from the last meeting in December. Can I get a motion for approval?
So moved.
Listen will make. I'll second. Listen will second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Is there any discussion or comment on the minutes? Seeing none, then Joe will, all in favor of approval signify by saying aye by roll call.
McPherson,
Aye.
Rob Gent, or anybody from Carver County. Labrie,
Aye.
Ellos,
Aye.
Isaacson, Freeze,
Aye.
Leitner,
Aye.
Witter, Otsukos,
Aye.
Peterson,
Aye.
Larson,
Aye.
Harrington,
Aye.
Crockett.
Aye.
I will give some updates over the course of this. So that's April Crockett. She's replacing John Solberg as the MnDOT Metro member. AO.
Hi, this is Deepa. I'm sitting in for Innocent. He's on medical leave, so I wasn't there for the last meeting, so I can't, approve.
I'll call you an abstention. What? Can you repeat your name?
Yes, Deepa Galvez. DEEP as in Pat A, and last name DEALWIS as in Sam.
Yalwis?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Reef.
Thank you.
Reef, I believe, said she was not going to attend. Fighton?
Aye.
Pittaparthy. Eddie.
Aye. Aye.
All right, our DNR seat is still vacant. We have, you might remember that we changed the bylaws several months ago to have a bicycle and pedestrian member, and those were seated as of today. So our bicycle representative is Kyle Sabota, and I think I saw you.
Yes, here.
We'll call that an abstention since you weren't even a member last month.
Yeah, abstain.
Okay, and our pedestrian member is Mackenzie Turner Bargan. I don't know if I saw you. Okay. Keel. Howley.
Aye.
Omi.
Aye.
Ellis. Kozlucher. Asheville told me he wouldn't make it. Thompson.
Aye.
Beckwith.
Aye.
Hager.
Aye.
Bowl.
Aye.
And Nick Peterson is the new St. Paul engineer, replacing the now retired Paul Kurtz. Are you here, Nick?
I am here. I will
And
have to abstain.
thank you. And Dermody.
Aye.
Andrew Witter is now in the meeting.
Okay. Andrew, you have a vote on the minutes?
Yeah, aye.
You. That's the last of the names, Chair.
Okay, so the minutes are approved. Or do I need to see if there's any? No. Joe.
Nope. Any no's would have come up hopefully during the roll call.
All right, so the minutes are approved. Joe, is anybody signed in for public comment on the business before us today?
That is Chair. There has not been any such.
Okay.
request.
So the report, Elaine.
A very short report this month. TAB canceled its December meeting because of the they had with the Max CIP approving staff comments, staff review of that. So that'll be moved to the January TAB meeting with its other action items. And then I do want to mention that with our new TAB members joining within the next month or two, plus all our technical committee members, I will be setting up some orientation meetings. So I'll reach out to all the new members and alternates within the next couple of weeks. And after we get the members all seated and set up some orientation meetings. And I usually typically go through an hour, hour and a half to go through a lot of materials. So all our policies, documents that you'll typically see going through the next year or two, just to give you a good overview on that. So I'll reach out to you within a couple weeks. Thank you.
Any questions for Elaine on the TAB report? Seeing none, TAC exec did meet this morning, so I will go through a few updates, and Joe or Elaine, if I miss anything, please jump in. I'd like to welcome and thank all the new members that are here today. There are a number of them. Joe's already mentioned a few. We might not have caught everybody, but thank you to everyone who's new to the committee and is going to be serving for the next couple of years. We have our process underway to fill the various chair and vice chair roles on the committees. So Brian Isaacson will continue on as vice chair of TAC, and I want to thank him for doing that. Scott Mareck will continue on as chair of the planning subcommittee, and I want to thank him for continuing that. Scott will be appointing vice chair to that committee. We are continuing to look for a chair for funding and programming. We've reached out to a couple folks with no success yet. If you are interested or have suggestions on who might be interested and make a good chair for funding and programming, I'm interested in talking to you about that. So please reach out to myself or Joe to share your thoughts on that. We would like to have a funding and programming chair seated before their meeting here in January, if at all possible. We're also taking a look at membership between funding and programming and the planning subcommittees. This is supposed to be reviewed on an annual basis, and after we seat a funding and programming chair, we may take a look at shifting around those subcommittee assignments. to look for some balance between those two committees. So there's quite a bit of important work that's going to be coming through the planning subcommittee over the next year or two, especially leading into the next solicitation. If you are interested at all in the planning subcommittee, whether you're sitting on funding and programming now or not, please let us know. Funding and programming meets the third Thursday of each month, and the planning subcommittee meets the second Thursday of each month. So I also know that schedules factor into those decisions for folks on which committee to serve on as well. So if you have any thoughts on that, please let us know. Any questions on what's going on with committees and assignments? Other than that, Joe, was there any other updates we wanted to provide today from exec?
I don't believe so, Chair.
Okay. Then before we move into business, I know that John isn't here today, but I didn't get a chance at the last meeting to thank him for his service as chair on this committee for 2 years. He left some very big shoes to fill, and I will do my very best on this committee. So a great big thank you to him and for Michael Thompson serving as the funding and programming chair for 2 years as well. So thank you to both of them. And with that, I think we will move into the business for today. We have 4 streamlined tip amendments, and I will have or ask Joe to walk through those for each of you. We'll take each of them individually through a roll call vote.
Thank you, Chair. I'll talk first about this first one, the Southwest Transit Bus Purchase 23-03. This one should be pretty quick. So this is an action to have the addition of Federal Transit Administration funds awarded to Southwest Transit's purchase of battery electric buses and charging infrastructure. This is a federal discretionary fund that was awarded to them through the No to Low Emissions Vehicle Program. So it's simply competitive federal funding from elsewhere that needs to be placed into the tip in order for them to spend the funding. That's really all I have for that one. So I would stand for questions if there are any.
Any questions for Joe? If not, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by
Second.
Isaacson is okay. Thank you.
Second by Keel.
All right, we have a first and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye by roll call.
McPherson,
Aye.
Robjan. I don't think they've been here. Labrie,
Aye.
Ellos,
Aye.
Isaacson,
Aye.
Freeze,
Aye.
Leitner,
Aye.
Witter,
Aye.
Kotsukos,
Aye.
Peterson, Larson,
Aye.
Harrington,
Aye.
Crockett,
Aye.
Yelowis,
Aye.
Reef's not here. Clayton,
Aye.
Eddie,
Aye.
Sabota,
Aye.
Turner Bargan, Keel, thank you for joining us. I apologize if you didn't get that.
I found it. Thank you. Aye.
Howley,
Aye.
Omi,
Aye.
Thompson,
Aye.
Beckwith,
Aye.
Hager,
Aye.
Vol,
Aye.
Nick Peterson.
Aye.
And Dermody.
Aye.
And I skipped a number of you who did not vote the first time. So if anybody wasn't called and is here, let me know.
Joe, before you go to the next one, I was maybe neglectful in having you describe a streamlined tip amendment for our new members here today and why they're streamlined and what the process is.
Sure. I can do that before or well, never mind. We voted. So I assume that is approved. So generally speaking, historically, TIP amendments start at the Funding and Programming Committee and then go through TAC and TAB. And about 8 years ago now, the Streamlined TIP amendment process was established to sort of speed that process up for most amendments that we would consider fairly routine. The rationale there is that by not having it go to funding and programming, it saves a month of process time. There's also some time saving at the back end of the process. For example, it's a much easier task to bring it to the Transportation Committee and the Council on the same week to save some time at the back end. And so I think what was happening, and this is a little before my time when this process was established, was that a lot of these amendment requests were taking a long time for things that were, for lack of a better phrase, slam dunks. So in order to be a streamlined TIP amendment, it has to be something that is not regionally significant. Those have to go through actually quite a lengthy process, including public comment period, and also items that are not changing the scope of a regional solicitation project. So in that case, there's usually a scope change request or something like that. And so most TIP amendments actually are streamlined, even though it seems like a special process. It's really kind of it's probably 90% of the TIP amendments are streamlined. And so they are deemed to be something that only need one technical committee review. I hope that helps. And then they go on consent at TAB.
Thank you, Joe. All right, 2023-04.
2023-04 is the addition of 3 regional solicitation projects to the TIP. And so what normally happens after we approve regional solicitation projects, as we did a couple weeks ago, is we bring them into the subsequent TIP. In other words, right now we're in the 23 through 26 TIP. Most of those projects are going to be placed this spring into the draft 24 through 27 TIP. However, we do have a lot of early year funding this time around, so we're going to put some projects into the 23 through 26 TIP. In fact, 2 of the projects that we're talking about here are 2023 projects and by default have to go into that TIP. And then there's a 2024 project that believes it might go into fiscal year 23. Not only that, but next month you might see a slate of 2024 projects being placed in the TIP. And the reason for that is that the 2024 program year starts on July 1st, but we'll be using this 23 through 26 TIP until the subsequent TIP is approved by FHWA and FTA, likely around November 1st. So there's that sort of 3 or 4 month lag time where we're using the previous year's TIP as we develop the current year TIP historically. So you might see a number of projects put in via TIP amendment next time. So this time, what we want to do is add 3 projects that we were just awarded the solicitation in the TIP. One of them is the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board getting $2.56 million to construct the bicycle pedestrian underpass for its East Bank Trail. It's a 2024 project, but they do believe they're going to actually be getting on that project in 23 or early 24. Metro Transit, $7 million for the Green Line extension. That's a 2023 project. And Metro Transit is sponsoring a park and ride on the Gold Mine ABRT. This was actually awarded to Washington County, but ownership or sponsorship has been transferred, so that could be an FTA project. And this is also going to be a 2023 project. So we're putting these 3 in there. We consider this streamlined because the entire process from funding and programming all the way through council did just approve these amongst the other 90 or so projects through the process. So with that, I would stand for questions.
Are there any questions for Joe? All right, seeing none, is there a motion for approval?
Move approval. This is Paul Homie.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you. There's a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Who is that second from?
Me, Brian.
Brian. Okay, seeing no discussion, then all in favor, please say aye by roll call. Joe?
McPherson.
Aye.
Labrie.
Aye.
Ellos.
Aye.
Isaacson,
Aye.
Freeze,
Aye.
Lightner,
Aye.
Witter,
Aye.
Otsukos,
Aye.
Steve Peterson,
Aye.
Larson,
Aye.
Harrington,
Aye.
Crockett,
Aye.
DeElwis,
Aye.
Reef. Oh,
If it's out.
it's out. Sorry. Fighton,
Aye.
Eddie,
Aye.
Sabota,
Aye.
Keel,
Aye.
Howley,
Aye.
Omi,
Aye.
Thompson,
Aye.
Beckwith,
Aye.
Hager,
Aye.
Bowl,
Aye.
Nick Peterson.
Aye.
And Dermody.
Aye.
Okay, that motion carries. And we go to 2023-5.
Thank you, Chair. Here are a couple of tip amendments that are a little more routine provided to me by MnDOT Metro. So this next one, the Minneapolis Broadway Street intersection improvement cost increase. This is this action involves a total cost increase to the City of Minneapolis's 8-SHIP funded Broadway Street Northeast intersection improvement project. This is additional local funding. It's a pretty small change, as you see in the grand scheme of things, but it is over a 100% change, and therefore is required to have a tip amendment. So with that, I would stand for questions.
Are there any questions for Joe? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion for approval.
So approved. Ellis, Hennepin.
Is there a second?
Second, Vol.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying, oh, there's a question. Go ahead.
Sorry, I have a question, Jenny. So for the curb extensions at Monroe, Fillmore, Buchanan, are those curb extensions into Broadway or into those streets or both? And I'm thinking about impact to running space for buses in those at those intersections.
Well, you would think I would know the answer to that, Adam. And I did reach out to our staff yesterday with questions and did not hear back from them. I'm guessing there's a lag with the holiday. So I am unable to answer your question here in committee. If that is pertinent to your vote, you can indicate that.
Unfortunately, I am intimately familiar with a route since I live in Northeast Minneapolis and ride the route down
Okay.
Washington Street, which goes southbound Washington on the left on Broadway. And it's kind of a tight intersection both directions. And so understanding the impacts to those movements would be helpful for us before approving this, or I guess maybe the second way to take it is to approve it and then make sure that City Minneapolis Public Works staff is working with Metro Transit staff and the design of those corners where they're, in particular, where there's turning movements of buses for regular route service.
Okay. So would you like to make a friendly amendment to the motion to put that qualifier on there?
Yep, I'd like to make a friendly amendment to the motion that the City of Minneapolis Public Works Department works with Metro Transit to identify and manage the design of the curb extensions at these intersections, so to provide for smooth operation of buses at those intersections.
Okay. And Joe helped me out on my Robert's Rules of Order, but I think it was Paul Omi who moved this, would need to accept the friendly amendment.
I don't think there's such a thing as a friendly amendment, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I think that
A hostile amendment.
Then we have to vote on the amendment.
Yeah, I
Correct.
think actually this would be an
That's correct.
amendment. that would need to be seconded, voted on, and then we would vote on the original amendment that would, assuming the amendment is approved, we would vote on the original motion that would now include the amendment, enabling me to.
Keel would.
This a lot.
Okay, so we have an amendment to our motion on the table. Is there a second to Adam's amendment?
I'll second Jim with City of Fridley.
Okay, thank you, Jim. So we are now voting on Adam's amendment, which is to ask the City of Minneapolis Public Works Department to coordinate closely with Metro Transit with respect to the design of this intersection, in particular, the curb line changes and turning movements. Are there any questions on the amended motion in front of us? Seeing no hands, then we're going to vote on this amendment first by roll call. Go ahead, Joe. All in favor signify by saying aye.
McPherson,
Aye.
Labrie,
Aye.
Ellos,
Aye.
Isaacson,
Aye.
Freeze,
Aye.
Leitner,
Aye.
Witter,
Aye.
Kotsukos,
Aye.
Steve Peterson, Larson,
Aye.
Harrington,
Aye.
Crockett,
Aye.
Elwes,
Aye.
Reef. No, sorry. Fighton.
Aye.
Eddie.
Aye.
Kubota.
Aye.
Keel.
Aye.
Howley.
Aye.
Omi.
Aye.
Ellis. No, he's not here. Sorry. Kozlucher, you must be here.
Aye.
Thompson.
Aye.
Beckwith.
Aye.
Hager.
Aye.
Bull.
Aye.
Nick Peterson.
Aye.
And Dermody.
Aye.
Okay, so the amendment carries forward and is approved, and now we will vote on the original motion, which is to approve the streamlined tip amendment. And is there any discussion on that portion of the action? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye by roll call.
McPherson.
Aye.
Labrie.
Aye.
Ellos.
Aye.
Isaacson.
Aye.
Freeze.
Aye.
Leitner.
Aye.
Witter.
Aye.
Kotsukos.
Aye.
Steve Peterson. Larson.
Aye.
Harrington.
Aye.
Crockett.
Aye.
Elwes. I believe she said she had to leave at 9:30. Fighton.
Aye.
Eddie.
Aye.
Sabota.
Aye.
Keel.
Aye.
Howley.
Aye.
Omi.
Aye.
Kozlucher.
Aye.
Thompson.
Aye.
Beckwith.
Aye.
Hager.
Aye.
Vole.
Aye.
Nick Peterson.
Aye.
And Dermody.
Aye.
It took a while, but it beats driving to Robert Street in the snow.
All right, that carries. And Adam, thank you for your input. I will personally bring that direction back to our staff in Public Works. And now we have our last streamlined tip amendment 2023.
So Jenny, before you go, I really appreciate that because I can guarantee you after today's snowfall, that intersection will have a much shorter crossing distance.
As will many crossing distances in the
Yes.
cities be much shorter. Yes, that's true. Thank you. Okay, Joe, 2023-06.
This is a streamlined amendment for Washington County. It involves adding federally awarded projects to the TIP that's going to enable Washington County to complete a trailhead on the Central Greenway Regional Trail. It's federal demonstration funding awarded through the Consolidated Appropriations Act of 2022. It is not connected to the regional solicitation, so it needs to be added to the TIP to in order for them to spend the money. It's broken into 2 years. 2023 for preliminary engineering and then 2024 for the actual work. So it has 2 project lines, but it's essentially one project. And with that, I would stand for questions.
Are there any questions for Joe? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion for approval.
Lissa, Wolf, motion.
Thank you, Lissa. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Beckwith.
Second, Beckwith. Thank you. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye by roll call.
McPherson,
Aye.
Labrie,
Aye.
Ellos,
Aye.
Isaacson,
Aye.
Rees,
Aye.
Leitner,
Aye.
Witter,
Aye.
Kotsukos,
Aye.
Steve Peterson, Larson,
Oh, sorry. Aye.
Harrington,
Aye.
Brockett,
Aye.
Dialowitz, I believe you left. Fighton,
Aye.
Eddie,
Aye.
Sabota,
Aye.
Keel,
Aye.
Howley,
Aye.
Omi,
Aye.
Kozlucher,
Aye.
Thompson,
Aye.
Beckwith,
Aye.
Hager,
Aye.
Vol,
Aye.
Nick Peterson.
Aye.
And Dermody.
All right, motion carries, and that is the end of our streamlined tip amendments for this month. So now we'll move to a report from the planning subcommittee from Scott. Scott?
Yes, thank you, Chair. The technical working group for the 2050 TPP update continues to meet. We last met December 8th and heard an update from Michael Larson in the Met Council Community Development Group on development of regional values, vision, and goals. And an update was also provided by Cole Hineker on the regional travel demand management study. We're also going to be meeting January 12th, next Thursday, and Steve Peterson will give us an update on the regional solicitation update schedule. That will be a study, kind of a reflection on the regional solicitation process and how that can be improved in the future. And then also there'll be an analysis of transportation stakeholders presentation. And Cole will also be introducing TPP goals and objectives that will be looked at through a consultant study. See what else here, looking through my notes. We'll also have an action item on pavement and bridge condition performance measures and system reliability, congestion management, and air quality performance measures. The action item before you today that was discussed at TAC Plane December 8th is the safety performance targets. And Jed Hansen will be presenting on that. I guess just a little background on the safety performance measures. This is a federal requirement that MPOs develop safety targets. The data that we're looking at is all roadways, so everything down from a local street to interstate highways. It also includes the A minor arterials that, and principal arterials, that we invest in through the regional solicitation process. I guess the big takeaway that we discussed quite a bit at TAC planning regarding this is that dating back to, I think, 2018 or so, we have not been meeting our safety targets. I think specifically for fatals back to 18, and I think also serious injuries, the rate of serious injury crashes, we haven't been meeting that in recent years as well. And I know that staff are working on a number of studies to help remedy that situation, but there's a lot of different stakeholders involved, MnDOT, cities, counties, the MPO that all have a role in that. Also, State Patrol and enforcement plays a role, design of our roadways. There's been increased speeding during the COVID years now. That's also been a contributing factor to crashes. So just a lot of extenuating factors and agencies involved in working on these targets. I think one thing that I'd encourage us to be thinking about, as we move forward, and we are continuing the trend in the 23 with the new targets of likely not meeting the targets. So I think we just need to be doing some reflection as an MPO and thinking about how we can, as an MPO, kind of bend the curve on some of these trends. And I guess with that, I'll hand it over to Jed to go over the details. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair and Scott. Hi, my name is Jed Hansen. I'm a planner in the multimodal planning team here at the Met Council, and I'm going to share about the 2023 safety performance management targets. Today, I'll cover the requirements and our methodology, as well as the proposed targets and the action items, and as well as some context and assessment of previous year performance. So the targets today meet the requirements of the Federal Safety Performance Management Final Rule, which has a dual purpose to inform.
Excuse me, Jed, can I interrupt you? Your screen is not up if you're meaning to share that.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Give me a second. Do you see that now?
There you go. Yeah,
All
you're
right.
good.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Okay. So the safety targets, they have the dual purpose of informing planning and programming to reduce fatal and serious injuries, as well as to track performance of the Highway Safety Improvement Program. State DOTs and MPOs both must establish safety targets. There are 5 measures: the number of all fatalities and serious injuries and their respective rates per 100 million vehicle miles traveled, as well as a measure of bicycle and pedestrian fatal and serious injuries combined. MPOs have a set of specific requirements, so they must set targets for each of these 5 measures annually. And they can approach this with 2 different options. They can either establish targets specific to their metropolitan planning area, which the Met Council has done in recent years, or they can agree to support state DOT targets. MPOs are not assessed or penalized by the Federal Highway Administration for failing to meet targets. However, state DOT targets are assessed annually, and that can affect how HSIP is allocated. They must be adopted February 27th annually, which is why you're seeing this today. The methodology that the Council has used in recent years is to reduce the targets on a straight line to meet our region's share of the Minnesota Strategic Highway Safety Plan goals. The targets declined from a set baseline that was held over 2020 and 2021 to reach the share of the state goals that are no more than 225 traffic deaths and 980 serious injuries by 2025. The regional share translates to no more than 74 traffic deaths, 464 serious injuries, and 115 pedestrian and bicycle deaths and serious injuries in 2025. While the safety targets do not go through a formal public comment process, they do get included into the next tip. No comments were received on the previous annual safety targets. However, the round prior, we did receive 9 comments that had requested lower targets or adoption of a Vision Zero approach to safety planning. The proposed targets in the action item today are in this table here, highlighted in gray. For context, we've provided the previous 2 years' targets. And if this methodology were to continue in the future, what the next 2 years' targets would likely be. The proposed target for 2023 for all fatalities is 90 with a rate of 0.33 per 100 million vehicle miles traveled, 600 serious injuries, the rate of 2.18, and 147 non-motorized fatal and serious injuries. The statewide targets are presented a little differently. They do have to provide them in a different format than MPOs are required to. And in recent years, MnDOT has held their targets reported to federal highways flat in a few of the measures. And ultimately, these targets are set so we can assess our performance and how we are doing on safety as a region. For the most recent year, currently we only have available to us final data through October 31st, 2021. And unfortunately, we missed our targets for 2022. I'll also note that performance has worsened. We not only missed our targets for 2022, but the end of October outcomes already exceeded the targets that were set in 2019 and the actual performance of the 2019 year. The region was meeting its serious injuries and non-motorized fatal and serious injuries whole number targets up until the start of the COVID pandemic. This is the same data presented differently visually, as well as a trend line to sort of show you the direction where things may be going. So we hope to have updated year-end data by the time this reaches the council for adoption. But right now, you'll notice this dotted line on the following charts. That represents if the elevated crash level in 2022 continued through the end of the year with the seasonal variation that could be expected. And it appears that performance in 2022 is on track to be roughly even to 2021 on all fatalities. For serious injuries, however, it was on an upward trend. 2022 serious injuries as of October 31st already exceeded year-end totals for 2021. And we're on track to approach 1,000. We hope to have this information updated soon. And the same pattern is showing for the combined measure of non-motorized fatal and serious injuries. Well, we provide the combined measure of non-motorized fatal and serious injuries for purposes of the federal target. It is helpful to disaggregate this data, and our partners at MnDOT have graciously provided this to us. I'll point out that several of the measures here, so this comparison table is January to October against its comparison years. Several of these measures here are up. Pedestrian fatalities was down over 2021. However, they were up over the 2020 total and the 2017 to 2019 average for January to October. I'll also note that bicyclist serious injuries were sharply up in 2022, up almost doubled over 2021 and 2020, and up by half over the pre-pandemic 3-year average. The proposed 2023 target method would be to continue the method that was adopted in 2021, which is to reduce targets annually to match the regional share of goals in the Strategic Highway Safety Plan. These targets reduce annually by approximately 8 fatalities, 69 serious injuries, and 17 non-motorized fatal and serious injuries. Ultimately, these targets are here to inform our work related to safety. And we do have some studies that that address prior recommendations that we've received in adoption of the safety targets. So safety is part of the transportation policy plan work. There is a study under contract to review the TPP goals and engage with local partners, and safety could be part of those conversations. An accountability policy could also be considered as part of policies engagement. Safety's position in the regional development guides, values, vision, and goals, which are parent to the transportation policy plan, are also under consideration by policymakers. The Regional Safety Action Plan is also getting underway, and my colleague Heidi Schellberg is on here too and could speak to that further if there are any questions. But as part of this project, there could be a review of regional solicitation criteria and weightings. And with that, that is the end of the presentation, and I'll stand for any questions.
This is Carl Keel. I have a question about, I had heard that the uptick has been attributed to increased speed on our system. Is that true, or do you have any comments about that?
At this point in time, I only have top line outcomes available to me, and we have not performed a systemic analysis. However, I do believe that will be part of the upcoming Regional Safety Action Plan.
Thank you.
All right, team. I just lost power for like a minute there, so I'm not quite sure where we're at. Jed, are you done with your presentation?
Yes, we conclude.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Were there any questions for Jed from the group?
Yes, I have one question.
Oh, there's a question. Are there any questions for Jed from the group? There's a question from Kyle. Kyle, did you have a question? Go ahead.
On the serious injuries, is that all serious injuries for bike and ped, or is that like is serious injuries like, say, a cyclist is not involved in a collision with a car? Is that taken into account?
So I might ask Heidi to hop in here, but I believe that serious injuries, they're items that would involve a collision. Typically, bicycle-related injuries that happen aren't reportable to NHTSA, and rather that's data that'd be captured by the CDC. But Heidi, unless I've misspoken there, I'd invite you to hop in.
No, we're exactly correct, Jed. These data are specifically focused on crashes with vehicles. So a bicycle crash alone, maybe like hitting a pothole, something like that, would not be included in these numbers.
Thank you.
Okay. Are there any other questions for Jed? I'm just scanning through really quick to make sure there aren't any hands up. I don't see any. So Jed, thank you for your presentation today. Scott, was there anything else? I see you put something in the chat. I just want to call that out to anyone who didn't see or take a look at the chat. Is there anything else you wanted to add to the presentation before we take up item number 2023-02?
Yeah, I was just mentioning in the chat that just so everybody understands that the data that we're discussing is for all roads down to the local street level. So that includes a number of roads that Met Council doesn't really have control over or influence on through the regional solicitation process. And so I guess I was just kind of throwing out a suggestion for the future that if there's a way that we can somehow summarize the data in a way that captures the roadways that Met Council has direct influence on through our federal funding allocations, if that could help us kind of better connect the dots of how our MPO can influence the outcomes. Obviously, there's lots of other stakeholders involved, as was mentioned in the presentation. Cities and counties and MnDOT also have a role in making these targets a reality. So thank you.
Thanks, Scott. Heidi, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll just verbalize my response that I put to Scott in the chat, and thank you again for that comment, Scott. I think the study that Jed mentioned, we have an upcoming safety action plan that we'll be doing that'll focus on vehicle crashes and vehicle bicycle crashes. So we can look at functional classification as part of that. I do just want to be clear with the committee. I don't anticipate that that would be something that we would include as part of this annual performance measure target process. That really is intended at the federal level to have that coordinated, comprehensive approach and focus on all roads. So anything functional classification wise would be done through a separate process. So I wouldn't expect it to become part of this annual target setting review. And just, broadly, just as background, so the committee's aware, every MPO does things a little bit differently. And just so everyone's clear, the federal eligibility for the funds that we program through the solicitation is broader than what the region has chosen to implement in the past. So the eligibility for those funds does actually go down to collectors. It's just the region has chosen to narrow that in the past. And the federal eligibility for the HSIP funds that we do play some role in at the federal level is for all roads as well. So just want to have that context setting for everyone to understand kind of where the federal context is and then how we've chosen to make some different choices as a region.
Thank you, Heidi.
Go
ahead.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Heidi.
I just saw that Carl asked a question in the chat. Schedule for the upcoming safety study. We are inching our way. For some reason, our procurement process has taken an extensive time on this one. Hoping to get a notice to proceed on that work in the next few weeks. So been in contact with all of our counties and some cities as far as participating on the technical advisory group for that, and hope to be able to get that kicked off with that group in the next couple of months. So, and that it would be an 18-month project.
And Heidi, could you understand that some solicitation for participants on a technical committee for that work that's already kind of in the works? Do you want to talk about that process and where that's at?
Sure. I'm sorry, you cut out just on the last part of that.
So go ahead.
Oh, okay. I'll start, and then if I've left anything out, just please ask. So we generally use a technical advisory group for our studies, and for this one, it'd be relatively similar in structure to what we use for the pedestrian safety study. So we typically ask for representatives from, of course, all the counties. We are including the portions of Wright and Sherburne that are in the MPO planning area for this. So we've asked for a representative from 7W area and have received interest in that. And then do try to have city representatives. So Madam Chair, for example, from the city of Minneapolis, Ethan Foley is Vision Zero coordinator, had served on the technical advisory group for the pedestrian one, and has indicated interest in serving on this. So we have asked different cities to participate in that, and then our other partners as well, such as Federal Highway, different divisions within MnDOT, since there are several different offices at MnDOT that are involved in this work, and other state partners too, such as the Council on Disability and Department of Health as well. And then I'd be happy to answer any other questions if I didn't touch on something. But then, of course, we would be bringing that work back through these committees as well for updates throughout.
Thank you, Heidi, and my apologies to the committee for my tech issues this morning. Are there any additional questions? If not, then Joe, I'm not sure if it's my computer or not, but I see a white screen and I'm wondering if we can bring up 2023-02 or if others are already seeing that.
We are seeing it.
You're seeing it. Okay, so it's just me. Awesome. It's awesome running a meeting when you can't see everything or hear everything. So I would entertain a motion to approve 2023-02.
Lissa will make the motion.
Thank you, Lissa. Is there a second?
Elaine will second.
Thank you, Elaine. Is there any further discussion on 2023-02? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye by roll call. Joe.
McPherson.
Aye.
Labrie.
Aye.
Ellos.
Aye.
Isaacson. Freeze.
Mareck for Brian, aye.
Aye.
Leitner.
Aye.
Witter.
Aye.
Kotsukos.
Aye.
Peterson. Steve Peterson. Larson.
Aye.
Harrington. Crockett.
Aye.
Whiten.
Aye.
Sabota.
Aye.
Eddie.
Aye.
Keel. Omi.
Aye.
Kozlucher.
Aye.
Thompson.
Aye.
Beckwith.
Aye.
Hager.
Aye.
She's probably struggling with that. Vol.
Aye.
Nick Peterson.
Aye.
And Dermody.
Aye.
So Jenny looks frozen. Not sure if she's in. And the eyes seem to have it.
All right, Joe. Joe, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I think I'm back. I was an aye. I agree the ayes have it, so that motion carries. All right, next month can only be better. Now we will move to our information item, and Michael Larson is going to give us a presentation on the Regional Development Guide. Michael?
Madam Chair, members of the committee, good morning and happy new year to all of you. I'm Mike Larson, your fellow Habitat Committee member and planning analyst in the Community Development Division, and I'm managing the values, vision, and goal process for the 2050 Regional Development Guide. So happy to give you an update on where we're at and hearing your thoughts or ideas for us going forward. So I'm going to share my screen right now. Hopefully that's good. Can you see my screen? I'm sorry. There we go. I think that should work now. Looks good?
Mm-hmm.
Sounds good. Okay. One second while I get situated. Sorry about that. I have just a lot of screens I'm trying to manage here. Okay, so today I want to give you an update on the development of a working vision for the 2050 Regional Development Guide to give you an opportunity to ask any questions you might have and share suggestions for us as we move forward. I think most of you know that the state legislature empowered the Metropolitan Council to develop a comprehensive development guide for the metropolitan area. and the Transportation Policy Plan is one of 3 regional system plans that that help implement this comprehensive development guide. The values, vision, and goals for the region will help set the stage for that and other policy work. So you might remember this particular slide. We presented this to you back in May. What we're trying to do is create a similar vernacular across all of our policy work to ensure that we're working towards the same outcomes. For example, if we are talking about safety or equitable access across the region, that might mean developing related policies across our transportation, parks, and housing policy work. Our process is always also trying to bake in an ethos related to effectiveness so that we know if we are having a meaningful impact, or if not, reevaluate what we're doing. And as we work on policy development, including that related to the Transportation Policy Plan, we'll have an opportunity to refine that regional vision and shared regional goals as we move forward. So I would also, I'd like, Madam Chair, I'd like to bring Cole Henniker into this discussion just to give, have him give a little overview of the various advisory groups that we're using to inform the development of the TPP, which is an important part of that overall guide. Cole, if you could jump in, that'd be great.
Yeah, thanks, Michael. So just as more of a reminder that we have a structure for working on the TPP that includes 2 additional groups on top of the normal groups of TAC and TAB and their subcommittees. We formed a 2050 TPP technical working group in the summer, and they've been meeting monthly for at least the past 6 months. And that is TAC Planning Plus, so it's TAC Planning Plus additional membership that represents a few more areas that we thought were necessary for the 2050 plan development. And that group is primarily focused with reviewing the more detailed content of the TPP creation. They've been hearing a lot to date about studies that are ongoing that are going to inform the TPP. But once draft content starts coming forward, it'll primarily be working through that group, like I said, on a monthly basis. And then we also formed the TPP Advisory Work Group, which is a set of policymakers that includes TAB members, council members, and additional representatives that meets every other month, but we're thinking they might be meeting more frequently in 2023, just because this is the primary year of content development. And again, they're going to be focusing on the TPP, but also at a higher level than the technical working group, primarily focusing on topics like vision, values, and goals, and TPP goals, and significant policy direction. So I think it's just a good reminder for you all that at the beginning of the year, we did ask for membership from agencies if they wanted someone different than their TAC planning member to be in that technical working group. And so we're still open to those suggestions, but they have been meeting for 6 months or so. And we are planning to continue with the current membership through the rest of the TPP development, unless we hear otherwise. So that's a quick update on that. And if you have any questions on that, we can address those towards the end. So back to you, Michael.
Yeah, thanks, Cole. I appreciate that. So, the council has numerous advisory boards and groups, and we've been consulting them over the past, sort of beginning in the second quarter of last year. Groups related to, we have an equity advisory committee, obviously the various transportation groups, a land use advisory committee, water resources, and various parks related advisory groups. So, that we've had a lot of particular input by a variety of stakeholders who have close connections to these issues and relationships among their communities and stakeholder groups. But we tend to broaden that engagement, and we're working on outreach engagement plans that really try to identify what will make sense for different stakeholder groups to continue to engage on this work. So what we hope to do, we were going to start with the council today, but that got pushed back because of the weather. So on January 11th, next week and February 1st, we'll be having work sessions with the council to finalize basically a kind of a working vision to share going forward, to be some groundwork. And again, not something that's set in stone, but something that we can use to continue to engage and refine over in time. And again, we'll also turn to beginning to articulate regional goals. And if you have thoughts about how your various stakeholder groups, communities that we represent might be interested in engaging, we've had a little bit of a challenge getting response from the election through the holidays, been a little tricky. So any additional insights or suggestions on that would be great. So just digging a little bit into some of the detailed work we've engaged around transportation related work. We've had a number of sessions and briefings. We've really leaned on the TPP technical working group and TPP advisory work group for some breakout sessions around certain kind of planning themes, integrated kind of issue exploration. I think the most recent advisory work group where we provided a sort of a synthesis on their work or their input today was very engaging. So we really appreciate that, and we're working to incorporate that and document that. And some of it is fairly detailed, so it might not work particularly well for high-level cross-cutting vision, but certainly information that we're documenting, and it may find a home in other work, or such as the TPP or implementation work or metrics and that kind of thing. So. All very, very interesting and useful. And I think particularly the exercise of just getting folks together to talk about these issues, re-engage. Not a lot of things is not terribly new, but I would say people find it to be at times energizing. So that's been nice to see. So I want to turn to values. As we've mentioned in the past, the 2050 Regional Development Guide will articulate values or core beliefs that guide our work. Our engagement today, not surprisingly, strongly reflects equity principles. What we want to do is to acknowledge past harm, seek to repair that harm, and build relationships with communities, and involve them in leaders and partners in the future of our region. We have also heard about the importance of collaborative and innovative leadership, including our partner agencies and organizations, and those who might experiment and take risks with new approaches. Transparency, effectiveness, accountability have also been a theme, really underscoring our desire to ensure that we're effective in our work, and to change course if we're not. There can be, I think, there's a certain level of frustration among certain stakeholders who might be admiring the problem, and we certainly want to get past that. And finally, another set of values that we'll be articulating relate to the reality that our collective resources, including financial, infrastructure, and natural, are limited and should be protected and respected for future generations in our region. So one of the things that is structuring our work, and we've addressed this with other groups, is the identifying significant cross-cutting issues for our region. You probably appreciate that one of the challenges of identifying a shared vision through crowdsourcing and that kind of thing is that we could identify a large number of issues and aspirations. They're often interrelated. Sometimes stakeholders might have varying degrees of importance depending on who they are. So the council has endorsed naming a set of limiting cross-cutting issues to structure, guide, and simplify the vision. And it's based on some fairly obvious common themes that are emerged. So you shouldn't, don't be not too surprising. Equity is a frequent topic of discussion, having had some of the worst racial disparities in the nation, affecting the well-being of our communities and really the potential of our economy as well. Climate is another obvious issue that we're addressing, and based on the work of this group, I'm not going to belabor that. Natural systems, including our regional parks and our surface water resources and our groundwater assets that we rely on for drinking water. So in some cases are at risk, and sometimes the benefits are shared inequitably. The fourth cross-cutting issue that we're addressing and is public, what we're calling public health, safety, and well-being. This emerged a little bit later in the process when we're really trying to gather together some related issues, like particularly with regard to transportation safety, and Jed had discussed in his presentation that this is under consideration. And so what we're calling this now is that public health, safety, and well-being, kind of more broadly, how people are doing. How do they feel comfortable in our communities? Are they physically safe? Do they have what they need in terms of our economy and social connection, that kind of thing, to build to support their quality of life? So I just want to talk a little bit about the most recent TPP advisory group. We reviewed this, said a similar presentation as to the one you're seeing right now. We reviewed the input that they have provided in various formats and kind of synthesized it and put it into this framework. It was a really engaged discussion. We really didn't get to a whole lot, but we have provided them an opportunity to kind of provide some of that input after the fact, document that for us. So I think it would consider it a success how engaged they were and how interested they were talking about these issues, and I provided that in your memo to reflect on. And so that's a work in progress that we will complete and have that for documentation. Then the next thing I'll turn to here is the development of language for the regional vision, what it should include in the approach we'll take. We're going to be addressing those cross-cutting issues that we had discussed. We're also going to be discussing some of the core work of the Regional Development Guide of managing the orderly and economical development of the region, including, the various needs of the businesses and households and what their needs are. Of course, we'll be duly considering the content and authority that exists in the 3 regional system plans. And we'll also be addressing some contextual issues that have really been coming up a lot regarding accessibility and affordability, shared prosperity, with an overall very strong economy, but one that is where where there are inequities in terms of how that's experienced. And finally, being a welcoming and inclusive region. And I think this is there are different dimensions to that issue about being welcoming and inclusive, and we've heard a lot of stories about that. Another set of consideration, the vision will be informed by these values. There are also important documents throughout the region. We do represent and have reviewed the comprehensive plans from all the communities in the region. So we're, I think, sensitized to kind of how communities think about their own communities. We've engaged a lot of advisory committees that I had mentioned, additional staff who are kind of close to these issues. I think you may have heard about or participated in some of the scenario planning that we're doing, kind of what if we grow more, what if we grow more dispersed, what if we grow less, that kind of thing. And this will also be informed by future stakeholder engagement. We're developing a working product here to be engaged as we go forward. And finally, some of the thoughts too is to make sure that we're not speaking esoterically, that we're really talking about grounding this in the people and communities and places of the region that are important to them, so that it really can looking for language that resonates and inspires people. So next slide here, I'm going to kind of turn it back to Cole once more and talk a little bit about kind of that connection between the vision and the transportation policy plan. So Cole, if you could jump in again, that'd be great.
Yeah. So the way we've been approaching this as we lead into the 2050 TPP development is that the vision that Michael's working on that starts at the Regional Development Guide level really will drive the goals and objectives in the TPP. We have existing goals in the 2040 TPP. We are planning to revisit those, and you'll be hearing more about that next meeting. The goals and objectives then, of course, drive where we should be focusing our policies and actions. And then policies and actions drive regional investment, including through programs like the Regional Solicitation. And again, you're going to hear more about the connection between the TPP and the Regional Solicitation update next meeting between Steve Peterson and I. And so just wanted to make that connection that, you know, the vision really does flow all the way down into things like the regional solicitation and how we invest in the TPP, not just through the solicitation, but also, you know, through minship, through transit investment, bike and ped investment, things like that. So the 2050 TPP goals and objectives will address transportation-specific elements of the vision. So it'll take all the things you're hearing from Michael and say, what does this mean for transportation specifically? We will be developing that set of goals and objectives with our regional partners. You're going to hear about that process next month. And we're actually talking about it more in detail at the technical working group this month. And that engagement on the goals and objectives will begin in February. So again, you'll be hearing about our plan there next month, but if you have a member on the technical working group, they'll be hearing about it next week, actually. So just wanted to make that connection and just note this work is really going to be the foundation of how we address investment in the next solicitation and other elements of the TPP. So back to you, Michael.
Thank you. So I want to talk a little bit about schedule and emphasize a few things. We were originally going to go to the committee of the whole today with some draft content for discussion, some articulation of the themes that I just overviewed. So a little more detail that's available to review if you'd like. That will now occur next Wednesday. We're also going to be circling back with the Equity Advisory Committee, kind of following our own articulation of values and ensuring that we're involving communities that are focused on the regions and equities. We have an update with the Transportation Advisory Board. We'll come back to the Council's Committee of the Whole in February to propose a revised document based on the input that we'll be receiving over the next few weeks. And then we want to turn to, and then following that, we'll want to turn to starting the development of regional goals. So that's that. And I do want to emphasize, I'd like to hear questions or thoughts about process going forward. Yeah, so I'll leave it at that. So thanks for listening and happy to answer questions.
Sounds like Jenny might have lost power again, so I may need to step in and help out. This is helpful, folks. So you've articulated that the time frame, at least the next steps, all I see is taking us through February. Is that right, Michael?
Right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean, there are certainly there are a number of next steps related to, you know, engagement, the goal setting. The regional development guide will have a number of policy plans and separate engagement plans on those. I'll circle back through the end of 2024 when we adopt the regional development guide and its constituent policy plans.
And presumably these documents will have some framework which will help us sort through when you're trying to choose between one of the 4 principles or others.
Could you expound on that, please, Brian? I'm not sure.
So just imagining a case where you've got choices to make in either development or transportation investment or some other place where you're not necessarily seeing clearly that one policy or one principle in the regional development framework helps you decide. And maybe there's some guidance about what the priority is amongst those.
Right. I think how I can respond to that, I think prioritization, sometimes I hear from certain advocates communities that we are perhaps trading an important thing off more than we should. And I think that conversation will come later as we start trying to think about priority, making sure that we're being effective and that our priorities deliver the results that we want to see. So, I mean, that's kind of a little vague response. I don't think this particular set of goals, vision statements will necessarily assist at a project level, but it will be the foundational work that can help to develop the tools to assist with that conversation.
Excellent. Okay. So I think with that, does anybody have any other questions for our friends about the regional development guide? Okay.
Don't be shy. If you think of something later too, you can always reach out.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
If I remember the agenda, I don't think we have anything else other than next meeting, right? Joe, Elaine, any?
Sorry, Mr. Vice Chair. I slept on the agenda.
I'm looking at the agenda and it looks like there's nothing after this outside of next meeting.
Yeah, other business or other business if people have it.
Yeah, I guess sometimes there are announcements, sometimes there are other things we want to emphasize. Anybody have any other comments for the good of the order? Okay, get your shovels waxed up, clear your walks, be safe. Do we need a motion to adjourn, or do we just say good? Have a
Generally,
good day?
Chair, our chairs have just adjourned us.
Yeah. Okay. Well, folks, have a good day. Enjoy the weather to the degree that you can, and be safe. Nice to see you all.